Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something quite different in the IT world. We're looking at the analytical profile of Borislava Tatchev. She's the founder of Alqubit, an IT consultancy. Our mission, really, is to unpack how she managed to build such a genuinely different and resilient brand strategy.
Yeah, and you can spot the core advantage almost immediately. It's built on mixing two worlds you wouldn't normally put together. You've got her background, which is super rigid, very disciplined, nuclear power plant operations.
It's very high stakes there.
Exactly. And then you have the company's whole philosophy, which is centered on, believe it or not, IT as an expression of art.
That contrast is, it's the whole identity, isn't it? The idea, and it's clever, is that this shifts them completely. They're not trying to compete on price like, a typical commodity vendor.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They're competing on value, clear, provable value. They position themselves as a strategic partner.
Okay, so let's maybe start with that first pillar, the philosophy itself. IT as an expression of art.
That sounds... Well, it's repositioning technology, right? Moving it away from just efficiency or basic function.
Precisely. It's framing the work as more like a canvas for creativity. Less about just keeping the lights on, more about building something elegant.
Okay, but hold on. If you're deliberately avoiding commodity pricing, isn't calling IT art a bit risky? Won't potential clients just hear that and think, oh great, this is just an excuse to charge more?
That's a fair point, but it's about how they define art here. It's not, painting or sculpture. It's art in the sense of really high-level problem solving, superior problem solving. The sources emphasize that the artistry is really about making complexity elegantly manageable.
Ah, okay, so the art is in the skill, the craft. Exactly. And that's where the nuclear background comes back in.
Yeah.
That provides the intense discipline, the focus on redundancy, required to actually achieve that level of elegance, whether it's in code or infrastructure design. That intellectual depth, that's the real competitive edge. It's something generic competitors just can't copy easily.
And this is where the strategy gets really unique, almost impossible to replicate. It leans heavily on the second pillar, the foundational narrative. The founder's own story, moving from that incredibly strict technical world of nuclear engineering into the much more fluid world of entrepreneurship. That's not buried.
No, it's shared very deliberately, including the really tough parts, overcoming financial struggles, dealing with personal setbacks.
So it's not just a nice backstory for the About Us page.
Definitely not. It's treated as a core asset. It translates directly into how the business is actually structured. Which brings us to pillar 3, codifying resilience. They have these 12 business principles in 4 pillars. This framework basically says the company's internal health, its mindset, is a fundamental part of operations. The pillars are philosophy, people, process, and product. Standard enough, but
the principles within them are where it gets interesting, right? You see things you don't normally find in a business framework.
Exactly. I mean, yes, you have things like methodology and strategy, which you'd expect. But they also explicitly include principles like self-awareness and resilience.
Self-awareness as a business principle.
Yeah. The implication seems to be, if the founder built success by applying personal discipline and learning directly from failures, then the entire company needs to operate with that same kind of deep self-reflection, that same ability to adapt and pivot. It suggests a culture that's actually built, in part, on understanding and surviving failure.
Okay, so we see this internal resilience, this philosophy, but how does it show up externally? Does it actually translate into their work? That seems to be pillar 4, strategic execution.
Right, and the proof is in their consistent output. You see it in their thought leadership, the YouTube deep dive series, their detailed blog posts.
Yes.
They constantly reinforce this IT as art idea.
And they don't just leave it abstract.
No, they ground it in very concrete technical examples. The sources mention Alqubit's work with Blackmagic, specifically their IP broadcasting and streaming tech. They're handling really complex stuff. Pro 4K remote production, setting up two-way talkback systems, working with SRT protocols. For you, the user, that means getting seamless, real-time communication and handling massive amounts of data over long distances. That is hard.
So that's the complexity part.
That's the complexity. But Alqubit consistently frames solving these challenges in terms of the new creative avenues it unlocks to the client. The technical mastery is the art form that enables new possibilities.
Right, I see. So putting it all together, then what's the main takeaway for someone listening?
I think Alqubit's strategic moat, its defensible advantage, is fundamentally its founder's unique biography and the philosophy that grew out of it. By fusing the extreme discipline of nuclear engineering with this aim of achieving artistic elegance in IT, they successfully shift They move from just being another vendor you transact with.
To being a collaborative partner.
Exactly. A strategic partner focused on innovation that isn't just about cutting costs, and that specific blend of background and philosophy. That's an identity asset you just can't replicate by throwing money at a competitor. It's too personal, too deeply embedded.
Which really leaves you with a fascinating question to think about. If a brand built on mixing something as rigid as nuclear operations with something as free as artistic expression can be so effective, so resilient, what seemingly contradictory, maybe even totally opposite parts of your own background, your own experiences, could you fuse together right now? What could you combine to create something genuinely new, innovative, and maybe even non-replicable in whatever field you're in? Go find your own nuclear reactor and your own paintbrush.